So I saw that we have 10 attendees for this meeting today. So why don't we introduce ourselves first so that we are familiar with each other, and then we may have collaborations in the future. And this can be a long-term project as well. So I will just directly call the names that's shown on my participants list. So first, Amir.
Hi everyone, I'm Amir. I'm a part of Dr. Wong's group, PMTL, working on this project alongside with Dr. Wu and Dr. Jung. Uh, really happy to know everybody and getting started on the project.
Sure. Courtney.
Hi everyone. I'm Courtney. I'm an undergraduate student working with Dr. Wang on PMTL.
And then next, L.
Hi, Elle Cromhout, Program Administrator with DEP, the Permitting and Compliance Assistance Program, so over the solid waste permitting and program. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Al. Yeah. Next, Kazi.
Hi, my name is Kazi Tahsina Habib, and I'm a graduate student at the University of Florida. And currently, I'm working under Dr. Simon Zhang's supervision on microplastics.
Sure. Marwa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marwa El Sayed. I'm an associate professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Great. Next, Nick Chen.
Hello, everybody. This is Nick from University of Central Florida. I'm an assistant professor, especially doing solid waste related research. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Sam.
Hi, folks. I'm Sam Sugarman. I used to work for the Toro company, and now I just kind of consult and do freelance stuff within the agricultural, plastic, and irrigation space.
Sure. Thank you, Sam. Songyo.
Hi everyone, my name is Sung-Yun Jung. I'm an assistant professor from University of Florida. We are working on microplastic collection and analysis.
Sure. Finally, Tim.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Townsend. I'm the director of the Hinkley Center for Solid and Hazardous Waste Management. I just wanted to say real quick, if I could, that the center really relies on these tag meetings and the tag members to provide feedback to the PIs and to their students in terms of research. So first, I want to say thank you for taking the time. As I'm sure you'll hear more about, you'll have the opportunity throughout the process to be able to provide feedback, and ultimately toward the end of the process to be able to review reports and give ideas and suggestions all along the way in terms of what we can do to make sure that we create the most meaningful product for the state of Florida as we can. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. So let's get started. So as I send the tentative agenda, so first I'll just give a quick overview of our project. I think some of our TAG members actually, they were in the sort of the final presentation that Dr. Sung-Yun Jung gave when we applied for this project. But some of the TAG members are new. So I will just give you a refresher of our project and then trying to talk about our overall objectives and goals for this project. So our project title is Quantifying the Environmental Impact of Agricultural Plastic Mulch Film Burning. So this is a collaborative project. I'm the PI at the University of Miami. I'm assistant professor in chemical environmental materials engineering. So the PI at the University of Florida is Dr. Sung-Yun Jung, who's helping us with the analysis of the microplastics. So first, the background. Why do we study the plastic mulch film? So I think for some of us who have done some yard work, whenever we see the mulch, we might be thinking about those wood chips, like the smaller wood chips that we apply onto our garden and to help with the soil. But actually in agriculture, the plastic mulch film represents these thin films that are being used to cover the soil. So you probably, when you go out to some activities like the strawberry picking, you will always see these plastic mulch films covering the soil. So they offer actually a lot of benefits to the farmers. So basically, the plastics are essential in modern agriculture. The plastic mulch films, which are mostly polypropylene, they comprise around 50% of all of the agricultural plastics that are being used nowadays. Other examples can include irrigation tubing, trays, bags, and so on. So these agricultural plastic mulch films offer a lot of benefits. So, for example, because they can cover the soil, so whenever farmers they apply pesticides, they can directly apply through these holes. So then the pesticides will not get escaped. But also the same thing for the fertilizers. So they can have very good weed and pest control, temperature and moisture control as well, because now most of the soil are not exposed to the ambient air. So they're also lightweight because they're made of very thin plastics. They're flexible. They can enhance the crop production overall. So in terms of market analysis of the agricultural plastic mulch films, and by the year 2029, we're going to see the annual growth rate of around 7.1%, which is quite fast, and the overall value of 19.5 billion. So in the state of Florida, actually, we use these plastic mulch film a lot because we're an agricultural state. So they're being used in the production of almost or all of the tomato, pepper, strawberry, watermelon, eggplant, cucumber, and so on. And in terms of the area or the total coverage of these agricultural plastic films, they cover around 100,000 acres in the state of Florida, so which ranks #1 in the United States. So these plastic mulch films actually offer a lot of benefits, but they also offer or give people headache or challenges in terms of the management, especially the waste management aspect. So as you can see, after the farmers apply these films, we will basically cut holes to let the crops grow through the holes. Basically, the farmers cannot reuse these plastics. And also under the solar radiation, these polypropylene also fragment and also degrade. So they become more fragile or basically easy to break. So that's why farmers have to apply these plastic mulch films seasonally. After each growing season. The thing is that if the farmers can directly remove them, and if these plastic mulch films are clean, then they could just wrap it up because we said that it's lightweight and then send it to the landfill. But the thing is that after the solar radiation, after these plastic materials become very, let's say, flexible and also gets even sort of melted a little bit under the high temperature, they also become more sticky. So you can see these soil particles will get stuck onto these plastic material. And it turns out that these collected plastic mulch film contain a high level of soil residue, around 80% in terms of the weight, actually are the soil residue. And they will also contain high level of pesticides, fertilizer, and so on. Well, if we want to recycle these plastics, the recycling facility will require a contaminant level of below 5%. So you can see this big gap from 80% to 5%. There's no easy way to reduce the residue from 80% to 5%. So that's why currently only less than 10% of the plastic mulch films are being recycled. So the farmers have to look for other options. So they could still collect all of these used plastics, form these bales or rolls, and then send it to the landfill. But the thing is that because of the heavy weight, now they face these transportation costs and tipping fee. They could also stockpile these used plastic mulch fumes or just bury these fumes in the ground. But the thing is that a lot of times they have the space limit. And also if you bury them in the soil, they will also impact the soil health. So then basically the method that's preferred by most of the farmers or growers are going to be the burning. Basically, they will light up the plastics so they can either form a pile or use these machineries or use a torch to burn the plastics, which can reduce the size and weight. And later on, they can clean up the residue and then send it to the landfill. So in terms of the burning of the plastics, actually the plastics are very good fuel. So in terms of the heating value, it's 46 megajoule per kilogram, which is almost more than 2 times compared to the coal. But the thing is that the waste to energy plant or incineration plant, they won't accept plastic because they are not categorized as the refuse derived fuel. And also, when you burn these high heating value objects, they also generate these really high temperature, which is not really good for the burner. So then the farmers have to rely on the open burning or the infield burning. So whenever we talk about the plastic burning, we think about these pollutants getting generated from the burning. But it turns out that the state of Florida actually allows the open burning of the plastics. So it's in the Florida statutes. So the polyethylene agricultural plastic, which are used in connection with agricultural operations related to growing, harvesting, or maintenance of the crops, may be disposed by open burning. So then basically Florida allows the burning of the used plastic mulch fumes. And in terms of the burning methods, people can either form a pile to burn it, or they can use these machineries to just use a torch to directly haul over the plastics and let them burn. So here I have 2 videos which are shared by another TAC member, Gene Jones. So you can see basically the farmers, they will apply some liquid fuel, for example, the gasoline or ethanol, and then light up the plastic and burn them. And then, or they could also use these heavy machinery, which have these propylene torch or acetylene torch to haul over these plastics and let them burn. But we know that, well, these two are different burning methods, and it's well known that different burning methods will give you different emission properties. So basically, we really would like to see, or at least quantify, how does the burning method, let's say burning temperature, the burning method, and how much air should we provide, might be influencing the pollutants getting generated from the agricultural plastic burning. And I also want to highlight that the infield or on-field burning of the plastic mulch film is not the issue only for Florida. So we have our undergrad researcher, Courtney, who helped us actually went through the state legislation state by state. So she has gone through more than half of the states in the United States. So she has found that the state of Iowa actually also allowed the on-field burning of the plastics that's related to the agriculture. So there are some states, for example, Kansas, Maine, Massachusetts, they also allow, but the farmers have to get the approval from their local EPA office before they conduct the burning. So basically to find out whether the weather will allow the burning of the plastics. Some states, they said they allow the burning, but they didn't specify whether plastics are allowed or not, right? So they can allow the on-field burning of the biomass, but they didn't specify whether the burning is banned. But of course, there are also states that directly said that the burning of the plastics, whether related to agriculture or not, are directly restricted or banned. So there are also states that directly ban the burning of the agricultural plastics. So I'm trying to say that this is not the issue only for Florida. So, I mean, in terms of emissions or the environmental impact of the agricultural plastic burning, unfortunately, so far there have been none study, or there have been no research related to the plastic mulch fume burning. And on the other hand, there have been several studies, or quite a lot of studies, trying to look at the burning of the pure plastics. So, I mean, the major difference that we can immediately think about is, well, since the plastic mulch fumes contain these soil contaminants and maybe pesticides or fertilizers inside, so these contaminants might be influencing the emission as well. But on the other hand, when we look at the existing studies on the burning of the plastics only, so a lot of studies focused on particulate matter, which is one of the EPA's 6 criteria air pollutants. These particles can lead to respiratory diseases. So they actually study different types of plastics and then trying to look at their chemical composition, carbon composition, so on and so forth. So they can generate a lot of particles below 1 micrometer. So most of us have heard of PM 2.5, which represent particles with diameter smaller than 2.5 micrometer. But these particles are PM 1, which can potentially penetrate even deeper into the human lungs. So, and also the composition of these plastic burning materials will also matter. For example, the elemental carbon is categorized as carcinogen, so they can lead to more severe health influences. Apart from particulate matter, people have also looked into the gaseous pollutants, and we can also conduct measurement of these pollutants like carbon monoxide or volatile organic compounds, and specifically microplastics. So we're burning these plastics as they became, let's say, disintegrated. They can also form microplastics, and we know that these pollutants are basically emerging pollutants that are of great concerns. So they can be released into the environment and also get ingested into the human body. And specifically for the burning of the agricultural plastic fumes, these microplastics could be emitted into the air, and also they can stay in the soil as the soil residue. You can see that these soil residue have these black or soot particles. But later on, we'll also show a picture that in our lab, when we burn these plastics, we'll also see these sort of the black structure. And I think Dr. Jones' group will show you some preliminary results regarding the microplastics. But as I said earlier, the pollutant emission really depends on the burning conditions and methods. And our major objective for this Hinkley Center project is to quantify the emission of these pollutants based on different burning methods. So specifically, we want to look at the emission factor. I'm going to define the emission factor later on. We're going to conduct the burning in 2 different reactors. So the tube furnace reactor, which have better control of the temperature, burning time, the combustion efficiency, and so on. And also we'll do a more realistic small-scale burning in our open burning reactor. So by comparing the data that we collect from these different reactors, we can sort of identify the optimized burning condition to reduce the emissions so that we can provide this information to these stakeholders. So this is our methodology. As I mentioned, we have 2 different burning systems. We have different instruments for characterizing the emission. So I will leave this methodology to Amir, who will give a short presentation about the methods and our preliminary results. So basically, we'll try different types of plastic mulch fumes. So these are provided by our TAC member, Gene Jones. You can see that these plastics contain quite a lot of soil particles on them. So we directly burn these plastic samples either in the furnace or in the open burning chamber. We have different temperatures, we have different flow rates that can lead to different burning time. And then the open burning reaction or reactors, we're going to try different liquid fuels and then let's say different methods for lighting them up. So this is a list of instruments we're going to use. So particulate matter, we have these online instruments that can measure particles down to 10 nanometer and then up to 20 micrometer. And we also can analyze the carbon contents to look at the elemental carbon, which is a carcinogen, or organic carbon, which is sort of less toxic compared to other particulate matter. And then we can also analyze the metal contents, the gaseous pollutants. We can measure carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, NOx, nitrogen oxides or sulfur oxides, and so on. We could also analyze the volatile organic compounds by collecting these gas species. And then microplastics. This analysis is done by Dr. Jones' group at the University of Florida. So emission factor. So emission factor is actually defined by the mass of the pollutant emitted per unit mass of the fuel burned. We find that this parameter is going to be quite important because if we can specify what's the emission factor, for example, for particulate matter, then it's easier for us to estimate what is the environmental impact for, let's say, plastic burning overall in the state of Florida, because we can do rough estimates of the total amount of the plastic burned. And then by multiplying the emission factor with this total amount of plastic burned, we can directly estimate how much of the pollutants are getting generated. And this is not only for particulate matter, we can also apply them for different gas species. And then with the data, we can apply them, compare them against the EPA's NAAQS standard to look at the level of pollutants. We can compare the emission factors against the EPA's emission inventory. And we can also, based on the metal content and also some other soil content, we can compare against the EPA's, Florida DEP's soil cleanup target levels. So this is data analysis. These are the instruments available in our lab for these particle analysis or the burning facilities, and also Dr. Jones' lab in terms of the macroplastics analysis. And this is our technical awareness group. Thank you all again for joining our meeting. So you can see that we have a diverse group coming from private sector, public sector, and then also researchers. So in terms of our overall impact of our project, we would like to bring these specific benefits for different end users or stakeholders. For the farmers, we want to provide these practical guidance for cleaner burning methods, because we're seeing that, there are different options for burning the plastics. So by finding out which one might generate least amount of pollutants, we can probably protect their health, right? Provide these guidance or burning practices that can reduce the cost with the management of these agricultural plastics. For regulators, we'll provide these new sets of data, emission data, and then to help with these, formulating newer regulations. For waste management professionals, we can help evaluate the risks associated with the agricultural plastic waste disposal, and then think about different options for managing these wastes. And then for public health and environmental researchers, we can provide these data sets for modeling or assessing the impact, the risks for burning the plastics. And in terms of deliverables, they include the quarterly progress reports, the technical reports, and also the metric summary. I want to mention again that the TAC meeting is a part of our deliverable. So we're going to discuss the project, and then our TAC members will provide guidance or suggestions to our project. We'll also generate the different database, publications, and presentations associated with this project. So before we go into the preliminary results, I also want to discuss the timeline. So far we're on track with our progress. So the project started on September 1st. So until now, we have set up the system, and then we have conducted our instrument calibration. So basically set up these different burner systems, and then we also set up the project website specifically for this Hinkley Center project. So now we're actually in our in the process of achieving our second milestone, which is to conduct or complete the entire combustion experiments and collect all of these samples. So we have shipped 2 batches of samples to the University of Florida, and we have also got some results related to the burning emissions as well as the microplastics analysis. So now we'll introduce the preliminary results. I will ask Amir, the PhD student in my group, to briefly show us a few results.
Thank you, Professor Wong. If I can share my screen, that would be.
Yeah, I just made you the co-host.
So, do you have my screen?
Let me stop sharing first. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's there. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And as Dr. Wong mentioned, our main goal is to quantify the emission factors for the PM and also all emission factor for NOx, CO, and CO2, and also sulfur oxide, and also microplastic, which will be handled by Dr. Jones. So we have 2 burning systems that will lead to different PM concentration and emission factors, and also different result on microplastic. And also we have another system that will focus on the open burning reaction, and we will use 3 brands or 2 brands of plastic mulch. We will set the temperature for the first set of experiment into 3 different temperatures, and the gas flow rate, which will affect the overall combustion efficiency of the process, will be varied also from 0.5 LPM to 2 LPM. And this is for the tube furnace reactor, and the setup for the open burning reactor will be assisted by some kind of a flame torch. And we will go and work on the open burning reactor on the second phase, on the third phase of the project. So for the first beta right now, we are focusing on the tube furnace reactor. And you can see that for the first system, we have a tube reactor. The temperature is controlled. For right now, we're focusing on 3 temperatures, and the second system will be the open burning reactor, which will be using a torch. And we will measure the particle size, PM mass, OCEC carbon, and gas analyzer. And here we have a video that you can see of the experimental setup that we have. So basically, that's the furnace, and this is the gas analyzer, giving us a live emission of the plastic burning. And this is the SNPS, which will measure the amount of PM, and also we have the APS inside, which will measure the bigger particles and will give us the full range of particle with this combustion system. For the emission factors, right now we are working on calculating the pollution of the 2 brands of plastic that we have, which was the white one and the black one. So we basically need the pollutant mass and also the burned amount of plastic that we use in the tube furnace, and that's how we estimate the smoke mass to have the particle number, emission factor, mass emission factor, carbon emission factor, and microplastic. So for the first batch, you can see that for example, for white plastic, for burning at 585 Celsius for 63 minutes, and inflow air rate of 0.5 LPM. And this is the mass of plastic that we are getting, particle that we are getting out of the reactor. And this is the mass of plastic that we actually burn, which is 0.0212 gram. And this is the emission factor for 1 patch of the experiment that we done. We ran 22 experiments till now, and the results are basically generated in the same format, and the emission factor exactly like this. For the these are some of the samples that we ran on the different temperature, not in particular order. You can see for the lower burning temperature, we got a lot of CO emission, which basically leads to a lower combustion efficiencies. And as you increase the burning temperature, the max of the amount of CO that you're getting out of the reactor is going to be decreased due to the higher combustion efficiencies. And also we are measuring NOx and also SOx, so we cannot see a lot of NOx coming out of the reactor, but we do see a lot of SO2 coming out of the reactor, which we did not expect that. And in terms of the size of particles, we can see, as Dr. Wang mentioned, the particle size are in nano ranges, going all the way to 1 micron range. So basically, it's really small amount of really small particle, which could lead to different respiratory effects. So that's something that we are working on right now. We have the results for 22 samples right now, and the data will be analyzed, and will be focused on the next part of the experiment, which will lead to different 22 experiment on different temperatures. And also there will be another batch with different temperatures running on different flow rates of the inlet flow. And that will lead us to different combustion efficiencies, and we can have a related combustion efficiency, which will be a table regarding the combustion efficiency to the particle size or anything, or emission factors that will give us a better guidance throughout the next steps of the experiment. I will be here if you have any question about the experiment and the experimental setup. I'll be happy to help.
Yeah. So Amir, let's leave the question and answer to the end. So now we can ask Dr. Zhang to share her slides.
Yang, if you don't mind, could you confirm you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see your slides too.
Is it the presentation mode or I have to flip?
You have to flip.
Okay. Now?
Yes, now it's good.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm Sangyeon, as I mentioned earlier, we are participating in the project with our expertise regarding microplastic analysis. And this project, my PhD student Kaji Habib has been working on this project. And now and here, I will share some of our preliminary data and also detailed methodologies and also future plan as well. So for the sample analysis, we use two core instruments. One is the stereo microscope, which is general microscope. And as you can see from here, nowadays they are selling with tablets. So it's easy to save the image and then it's also easy to work around. And another machine is we are heavily using this machine a lot for the chemical property analysis, which is pyrolysis gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. So we call it PyGCMS. So from following slides, I will explain a little more detail about PyGCMS, just in case some of you may not know about this machine. So this machine generally used for the identification and quantification of plastics. It has three different compartments. The first one is pyrolyzer, and the other two are gas chromatography and mass spectrometry. So in this pyrolyzer, we can load the sample into really tiny small cup, which I will show you in the following slide. And the plastic sample in this sample cup. And we hit the furnace right now we're hit at 550 Celsius degree. And at this temperature, most plastics are decomposed to create gas products. And once those gas products are generated, and they can be transported to this GC, and then they are separated in the column. So that's why they can leave the column at different time. And then they are identified in this MS. So here is a little detailed image. So the cup is really this much tiny. So we have to be really careful to load our sample. So we are using two different approaches. One is regarding bigger particle and the other one is smaller particles. So bigger particle, even though I'm saying bigger, it's not really big. So it's still tiny, but it's okay to grab using our hands. So when we have the bigger particle, we grab that single individual particle and then we measure the mass using microbalance. So this one can go down to 1 microgram. So it is good for us to measure really tiny and light microplastic sample. And then we run PyGCMS to create the data. And in the case of smaller particles, there's no choice to run all together. So in that case, we concentrate the sample on this tiny portion of the glass fiber filter, and we introduce all of these glass fiber filter together with particles into this tiny sample cup, and then we run all together using PyGCMS. So these are from the previous data, and then using single large particles. So depending on the particle and the plastic type, as you can see from here, by the way, these are the chromatogram. You can see from different patterns depending on plastic type. So for example, polystyrene, it clearly shows 3 different distinct peaks regarding the styrene monomer, dimer, trimer. And compared to polystyrene, polyethylene can show triplets for entire range. So that's why even by seeing these chromatogram, it's also possible to identify plastic type. But that is only for large particles. And regarding smaller particles, we have to identify indicator ions. For example, regarding polystyrene, we have specific peak at specific temperature, and those peaks have unique fragmentation pattern in MS spectrum. So that's why we can choose specific indicator ion with mass charge ratio based on the mass spectrum. And then we extract those mass charge ratio from this chromatogram and this chromatogram, and then we can identify, depending on the temperature, to identify complex mixture samples. And we generally use the integrated area for the quantification, But for the large particles, we don't need to do that because we can measure the mass using microbalance. But that is how we use for the microplastic analysis. And then this is the preliminary data which we received from Dr. Wang's group. So we received 4 samples which contain the particles from black plastic mulch burning at 585 Celsius degree, and the others are from white plastic mulch at different temperatures. But first of all, I would like to say that this is too early to confirm the trend or any data, but we would like to share this kind of data we can provide, and we can use this data for further understanding. So that time we received the samples which contain around 0.1 to 0.2 gram. And based on our experience so far, we prefer to have a little more mass. So that's why Dr. Wang's group sent us a little more mass. That's what I understood. And then we just received the sample. So we will analyze that sample to confirm this trend. Anyway, so far what we found more microplastics generated from white plastic mulch burning. And we found higher temperatures somehow create more microplastic with polyethylene as the major polymer type. And polyethylene is the major type, and it makes sense because plastic mulch, based on my understanding, is made of polyethylene. But as I said, it's a little hard to confirm at this moment. And these are some microscopic images we took from the particles. But unfortunately, most of the particles, as you can see from here and there, they are pretty small. So we didn't have choice but to run all together. So that's why the data from the mixture. So that's why it's hard to match individual particle with the individual type. But based on our understanding here, we understood we may need more amount. At the same time, it may be better to separate the particles depending on size. So for example, Dr. Wang mentioned he initially thought, and then I also agree with that, we may have more microplastics with lower temperature. But only based on this data, we saw a little more with higher temperature. That may be because of smaller particles created, and which we may not be able to see using our naked eyes. So that's what we thought so far. And then based on this understanding, we plan to separate the particles using the sieve, and then we probably have a little more detailed data in the following tag meeting. So this one, I would like to also share some information regarding the surface soil analysis for microplastic, because we also plan to get some field surface soil sample to get initial assessment of microplastic or other contaminant. So in our group, we have been working on collection and analysis of microplastic from different environmental compartments, including soil, water, air, and this is one of them. So regarding soil sample, we generally use the aluminum foil bag because it is plastic study. And then the soil sample, we generally use 2 different steps to treat the sample. The first one is extraction to only separate the soil matrix and the plastics, and then we digest the sample to remove organic matter. And we do the filtration, and we use the analytical instruments which I introduced in the previous slides. And this is one of our previous results to share some potential availability from my lab for the project. So the earlier time we collected sample from different locations in Gainesville. So here MB means the neighborhood, and SC shopping center, and HW highway, and waste collection center WC. And we went through this entire sample preparation process, and we found the different quantification results. And as you can see, certain location has much more microplastic concentration compared to other locations. And if we imagine the location nature preserve, it seems like having much less microplastic compared to highway and waste collection center. And also, depending on the location, they have different the plastic type composition. So in our understanding, if we analyze field sample, we will probably have different trend. And then after burning, we will get the different concentration or types as well. Then that will give us better understanding regarding real field burning situation. So here is our plan. So we will repeat the analysis. As I mentioned, we received samples from Dr. Wang's group with more the mass of sample, and we analyze them and verify the findings. Of course, we will separate the particles depending on size first, and then we will confirm our findings. And another plan is to develop initial assessment using field soil sample. We collect the surface soil sample from the field, process the samples, and we analyze microplastics. That is our plan. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Songyong. So I realized that we're getting close to 45 minutes. So I don't know if I mean, are attendees okay if we extend a little bit and then we can have a discussion? Maybe we can start the discussion now. So I will wrap up with our plan for the next 3 months. So any questions or comments?
I had a quick question.
Yes,
Nick
hi, Nick.
Ciancio, I'm the Resilience Division Director for the Department of Solid Waste Management. I had a question about the plastic mulch film. So I understand the barrier for a lot of these farmers from disposing of this waste is largely due to, you know, the. Oh, 1 second, my director just walked in. Sam Sugarman can answer, or he can ask his question.
Yeah. Sam.
Yeah, so I just had a couple of questions regarding like the actual mulch that you guys were testing. I know one of the big pushes is kind of looking at the mill thickness of the specific mulch film as a way to kind of promote better collection mechanisms out of the field. It seems like it's just kind of getting samples from Gene. I imagine that the different specs or additives that are going into the different mulch films are going to like implicate the burning or even kind of the contamination levels, just because the contamination levels are based on weight. So beyond just kind of the color separation, I'm just wondering how the methodology is approaching the different kind of specs of mulch.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good question. So far we only got these 2 types of mulch. So my feeling is that the white one is thicker. So it's I mean it has 2 layers inside, and I mean inside color and outside color are different. So I think that could.
I can confirm, Dr. Wang,
yeah.
the white plastic is thicker.
Yes. So basically, that's probably why we're also seeing more microplastic coming from the burning of the white plastic. So in terms of the specification, I think that's a very good point. I think we will, I'll probably need to confirm with Jean about the specification for the plastics. So, you know, I think one article that I read regarding the types of plastic being used, most of the time they're categorized based on colors. I think white, for example, in my slides, there was an article talking about the different types of plastics. You can share that also. So this is from this manuscript, Agriculture and Horticultural Enterprises. So it seems like they also categorized mulch films based on color. I don't know if that's common in the agriculture field or not. So Sam,
I mean, yes, it is, but I would say one of the bigger components is they're really using different, based on kind of the application and based on the use case. Some of them have drip tape under the mulch film, which they tend to be using a little bit thicker. I believe it also depends on kind of what the bed height is and how kind of they're tucking that material under the beds to make sure it stays in place. To my understanding, some of the differences in the color are more in terms of heat retention. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's also additives with that, right? In addition to heat. retention. So yeah, but that's really good suggestion. We will probably do more like background search on these different types of mulch films being used. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's different manufacturers of those mulch films, and like you said, with the different additives, some
Mm-hmm.
of them have metallic or some sort of additives in there that implicate kind of their burning and the the
Mm-hmm.
pollutant or emission factors of those. So I would just try and kind of categorize the different manufacturers and do deeper dives into what the bill of materials go into that, because
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to implicate the findings a lot.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So we will check more specifications for the plastic, but also at the same time, for this project, we were only using these three types. Also because you see that quite a lot of burning experiments are involved. So we're also trying to be selective about our plastics. But we will check the specification for the ones that we're using right now. Yeah.
So, apologies for that, everybody. So my question
No
was,
worries.
and it's more of a background question. So I understand the barriers for why a lot of these farmers and those in the ag industry aren't landfilling their plastic mulch. It sounds like that it's largely because 80% of it by weight is soil. Is that right?
Mhm.
So in that case, has it ever been explored in the state of Florida why landfills wouldn't use this almost like an ADC as opposed to purchasing soil outright?
So could you repeat what is the ADC?
Alternative daily cover for landfills. Is there a reason why this hasn't been pursued or explored as a potential alternative daily cover, since a lot of landfills purchase soil outright to use as daily cover?
Okay. So yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm not sure if I can answer that question. So Elle, I saw
Yeah,
that you unmuted
I
yourself.
can kind of help with that one, Nick, or Young. And currently, the plastic film itself is not an approved daily cover material. Now, if the soil was removed from the film, potentially it could be used, but the film itself is not included as a alternative daily cover that's approved by the department under the rules.
Okay. Thank you.
I see. Yeah, Almir?
Yes, Dr. Wang and the team, excellent presentation and work. I have a question. I'm not sure. Is the health risk assessment is included as one of the objectives of the study?
So here I think our major goal is to analyze or to collect the emission factor. So basically to find out how much of the pollutants, but different types of pollutants, particularly matter, let's say metal, or these different gaseous species and the microplastics, how much are being generated per unit mass or per unit like kilogram of the plastic burned. So we're not including any of the health aspect, let's say to expose the pollutants to cells or those type of experiments. We're not including those.
So a health risk assessment is not one of the objectives of this study.
No, but as an extension, we can actually do that. So with the data, we can do some modeling or do some calculation.
After you complete, you collect
Yes.
environmental data. Okay,
Yeah,
understood.
that's true. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As a follow-up question, let me ask you a question. What is, or who is the target population that will be exposed mainly to those pollutants?
Yeah, I think the most immediate population exposed to the pollutant are going to be the farmers.
The farmers?
Because they are the one operating the burning of the plastics. But I think it's similar to the burning of the biomass. So basically residents living downwind of these farmlands that are doing this burning will also be exposed to these pollutants. It just depends on how much of the pollutants are getting generated. But also, if you think about the toxicity of the pollutants, I think the burning plastics are also going to be more of a health concern. I mean, if you compare, let's say, burning 1 kilogram of plastics and burning 1 kilogram of biomass, so I would say the health concern will be higher for burning plastics.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Zhong and others can also chime in if they have some thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Wang.
Yeah, thank you. Other comments or suggestions? Okay. Well, if not, I mean, I can briefly wrap up with our plan for the next stage. So let me just share my screen again. So we have gone through the preliminary results, and then next is the plan for our next reporting period. So this is our timeline again. So basically, from month 3 to 5 and 6 to 9, so we're going to complete the combustion experiments, collect all the samples, and then conduct our data analysis, and as well as comparing different standards. So I would say when we get to our third TAC meeting, I mean, our next TAC meeting will, let's see. When we get to our second TAC meeting, we'll start to have a more, let's say, a more comprehensive understanding of how the combustion condition will influence the emission of the pollutants. And also we can provide a better picture of this specific type of burning. So for some immediate plan, so actually Gene Jones recently also got us connected with the Gulf Coast Research and Education Center of University of Florida, where they're based close to, I think, Tampa. And there they have a lot of experimental farms that are targeting different types of plants and crop systems. So there they also conduct the burning of the agricultural plastic films, mulch films. So they said that there could be an opportunity for us. So first they said that it's okay that we can collect some soil sample. They'll help us collect some soil sample for us to analyze. But there could also be opportunity that we can conduct field measurement of these pollutants by moving our instruments there. So I think that's a good opportunity. And they said that our project also aligns pretty well with their USDA project on the sustainable end-of-life options for plastic mulch. So we will have a meeting in the upcoming maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then see how we can further collaborate with them. So then in terms of seeking funding from other resources, so I think both Dr. Zhou and I are currently funded by a few grants from the federal agencies. So we'll try to explore these opportunities. Also reach out to some of our TAC members to work on the proposals together. So for example, I know that Dr. Al Saeed, so she has done quite a lot of work related to the more sophisticated characterization of the burning of the plastics, and she got some really nice data on those experiments. So we're going to reach out to some of you and see if we can write proposals together to NSF or USDA or the Florida DEP, and also the Office of Naval Research. So yeah, that's it for our plan, both the immediate plan and let's say and also for the next several months, and then overall plan. So I think we're getting to the end of our meeting. So anyone still have any questions? Yes, Nick.
Hey, Dr. Wang, I think this is a very good presentation. Just want to clarify. So, what do you think the final results will be used for, like solid waste guidance? So, are you looking into saying like this open burning is producing contamination, and you will probably provide some options for them to dispose the plastic mulch in the future? Is that something you want to do
Yeah,
for
I
this
think,
research?
yeah, I mean, if we can provide a recommendation, I mean, that's our ultimate goal. But on the other hand, I think we're comparing different options. So, for example, I mean, the farmers can still, let's say, collect their used mulch and then send it to the landfill, or they can use different types of burning. So, for example, right now we're seeing that when we have higher temperature for the burning, so I think that's also showed in Amir's results. When we burn at lower temperature, there's more carbon monoxide. But one thing he didn't show is that although you have higher carbon monoxide, but you have lower PM emission. And at the same time, lower temperature, you have less amount of microplastics. So which is understandable because when you have less amount of extent of combustion, you mostly shrink the size, but you don't go through the chemical reaction by a lot. But on a high temperature, you might emit more air pollutants. So maybe there could be a way that we can both shrink the size of the used mulch, but also sort of minimize the air pollutants getting generated, or soil pollutants getting generated, and then provide some of these practice guidelines. And then if it can shrink the size, they can clean up the residue and then haul it to the landfill. So yeah, that's our like sort of the ultimate goal. Yeah, but I mean, we'll have to see our results.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Nick. Okay. Yeah, I think we're reaching to 3 o'clock. So thank you again for attending this first TAC meeting. And we'll keep you posted about the results and also send you a link for our recording. So yeah, and thank you all for your time, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Yang.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.